I started out with a Logitech C920 like most people, and I didn't really get good quality from that camera for quite a long time. It really wasn't until I got the Logitech Brio that I learned that my lighting situation was far from optimal. You may be more familiar with a look like this or something far worse if you just opened your Logitech Brio or Logitech camera. With our key light and our fill light now returned, we can already see an improvement of our lighting situation. If you're wondering about those terms, I can give you a further definition, but just know that a key light is going to be providing the primary source of lighting source on the subject, which should be you. The fill light is going to be filling out those shadows that are caused by the key light. You may also have a backlight, which could be sufficed by a ceiling light in my case, or maybe some rear room lighting to help contrast the difference between the front of the source and the back of the source. Now let's move on to OBS. For the most part, if you're operating within Windows 10, unfortunately your settings will have a tendency to reset in some, if not all of your settings each time you boot OBS. I am also aware of Logitech G Hub's application, which allows you to set certain profiles and preset those before you start OBS. However, I had varying results with this application, and honestly, anytime I modified something like exposure or gain or try to change any of those features, it would counteract with OBS in a way that would prevent me from being able to make minor changes. So the first step we're going to do here is actually go into our webcam. So I'm actually going to go into the Logitech Brio. I assume a lot of you are very familiar with this already, but just in case you aren't, this will allow you to adjust things that OBS sets for your webcam each time it loads. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to move out of device default and go into custom. Once you're in custom, you should be able to modify the resolution type depending on what your webcam has available. Typically, you're operating with a C920 or the Logitech Brio or anything in between, you're likely going to be using one of two resolutions, either 1080p or 720p and either 60 fps or 30 fps. The video format and color space and color range, the difference between these two is typically either standard definition or high definition recording, but if you want further detailed information about some of these settings, as well as some of the settings that we're going into on the webcams, feel free to drop a comment and we may make it in a future video. After we've set those, the video format to MJPEG, color space to 709, and color range to full, we're going to go into configure video. The first thing you're going to go to is camera control. If you see any of these checked off, I recommend greatly unchecking them. If you use the Logitech G Hub, it's likely setting these to auto enabled. I think naturally the Brio is set to a -7. The camera is quite improved, but you can also see some banding to the left and to the right. This is because I'm using these floodlights, but you want to find a good balance between light given and the frames that you're achieving. Go ahead and go over to Video Processing Amplifier. I actually looked that up. Video Processing Amplifier is what it's called. So the first thing we're going to go into is actually the white balance. If this is checked, uncheck it. The other setting that I changed on this is the gain. I try to achieve somewhere in between those two things, which has me at about 40. With filters selected under our video capture device, we can start modifying some of the things that we could have modified if we went into the video configuration properties. I like to use this to modify my webcam because this gives me a degree of saved profile-ness without having to rely on the Logitech G Hub to keep my profile the way I want it. So I'll go into a color correction filter, which is right here under effects filters. Then we can go and start changing and modifying some of these sliders. We're going to go ahead and select a color filter. What I'll usually do here is I will select somewhere in between nearly white and a slightly yellow to achieve the white balance that we would get if we were doing just purely a white balance scaler. We may see that by adding a white balance or adding a little bit more, it immediately starts to turn orange. How's it going, everybody? So, wanted to take this short time that I have here. Today, I am bringing the key light from Elgato to show you, and I want to show you its setup because I'm going to go through this process brand new. I've opened some of the products, so this isn't an unboxing. If you want to see an unboxing, I'm sure you can get a nice premium view of that through Elgato's videos, but I wanted to do a setup for any streamer that may be wanting to get this product, or any streamer who's or creator who's wanting to get this and add it to their current setup or upgrade their current setup to see if it's something they want to try out. So I wanted to make a video, just a short video featuring this product and or just, you know, criticisms of the product. So let's go ahead and check that out. I've taken a couple of things out as well as one thing apart, and I'll explain that why in just a moment. This was just an extra adapter, it looks like. So pretty basic box, pretty heavy box actually, and I think that comes a lot from actually the light, which comes in a plastic sleeve. So this is actually just like where most of the weight comes from, the rest of it coming from the pole that it's attached to. If you look really closely there, you can see where you're going to sort of put in the screw or the socket, and then you also have there, but it's not just those points. You actually have here and here. I'm not exactly sure why they have all 4 points included on this. I don't know if it's like a way to save on paper. Let me kind of put this back where it started here. It's actually good that I took this apart so I can show you this. So the way that it fits is you have, and I don't like this setup either because this is the same way my mic is set up, and the getting it attached while on the pole is the most it's the most difficult thing. And now we're basically right where we started. I can't seem when I loosen, so when I tighten both of these, I can still kind of get that part out. So maybe I just need to put more force into it. So let's loosen this one. Okay, it doesn't extend here. Okay, there we go. A pretty good deal. Should be flashing this pole around everywhere in public. All right, so let's go ahead, do step number 1, and also the reason I'm making this video. I tried doing it the logical way, and I was like upset, and I'm kind of scared to push anymore. Wish me luck. Okay, so we got it attached, at least one thread in, so it's kind of sitting on its own now. I'm gonna hold this tight so it doesn't shift around. Already I'm looking at the base right now, and like little filaments, little pieces are coming off because it's the first time it's being screwed in. I'm also not doing it on the opposite end, though there's a screw up here. I'm not sure why. It doesn't really detail that. I don't know if you can attach more or something else to this. It's like nerve-wracking. And that was haunting. I guess if you already have your desk a couple of feet back, you can go ahead and walk behind your desk and attach this. I myself have my desk pretty close to my wall, so I cannot do that. This is gonna be our alternate angle here. It says push the button to engage the ratchet when tightening. You're not actually pushing a button. You're not pushing anything. That you're actually pulling. Elgato. My memory is terrible. Go ahead and download this. Save the file. Because I don't stream every time I game, I'm gonna go ahead and disable that. Right when I turned it on, immediately I recognized the device. I like that. That has actually been the first convenient thing of this setup, so I'm really happy about that. Sort of inconvenient placement, but okay. It'll restore the last used setting. That's actually really convenient. I feel like a warmer temperature comes off a little bit cleaner. And then we're going to adjust the brightness. So definitely something that I'm noticing with this is you're going to have to mess with it and see where your sort of middle ground is. I see us still having to mess with like the saturation and the contrast to kind of mess with some of the lighting and make it a little bit less funky. I can mess with these a little bit more, and that's the benefit. And I'm not using any gain right now, so that's also very nice. I don't think I'll need a secondary light. So this is off, and then this is on. We can add sort of a very light sort of filter to put over the screens. I have one light currently on in addition to having the key light on. This is just a version. So I've messed with some of the lighting here. I've made the temperature a little bit warmer to give it a cooler feel, but instead of having the additional light to give it more brightness, I've taken that off. And as you can see, some shadows are already forming, especially under my neckline. Another thing you can also tell, like whenever it's out of view, you can see shadows forming on the underside of my forearms, my hands. Shadows do form. In some areas, it's not too bad, like especially like near like the lines of my hat, which is adding a little bit, and it's not the worst whenever I'm standing like in directly into the camera. The main test though is going to be see how it treats the rest of the room. Ultimately, I would give this product a really high recommendation. I think it's worth the price considering I was able to remove almost all my lighting, and I could keep it out of there for basically the same cost of a lighting setup. One thing I forgot to mention, guys, if you ever have any questions about any of these products, or if you want me to review a certain product, whether it be lighting, audio, or anything about streaming, please drop that in the comments, and please subscribe. Drop some comments in there just asking questions, anything you need to know or anything you would like to know about streaming or recording and editing video.